Hi, I'm in Siem Reap and I've been driving around this town for maybe a week now, driving into here from Poi Pet and just going around town, driving very slowly. And I thought I'd share a few observations and tips, especially if you're driving in a right-hand drive car into Cambodia, which is basically a place where you drive on the right side of the road, and the right side of the road is meant for left-hand drive cars, right? So I drove into here with a right-hand side right-hand drive car, and there's a few things that was interesting, things you have to be aware of in addition to Cambodian roads. So I'm going to share a few right now. At the moment, I'm trying to get to a cafe, and there's a few things in Siem Reap worth noticing. Number one, the first thing is the roads. You look at the roads in front of me, they're pretty new, and this is one of the roads that has been paved out of 38 during the crises, right? During the pandemic. So when there were no tourists, so they dug up essentially everything and most of the main roads and did this. Okay, the first thing I noticed is this: certain roads have been made one way, but Google Map doesn't show it as one way because it used to be two ways, and even the markings on the road may show that it's two ways, but if you look at the traffic signs, it says one way. For example, this road, there are signs to say that it's one way. However, you still see two-way traffic sometimes, and that's the funny part, because I don't really know whether it's one way or two ways. So I have to be really, really careful. Like on the road right now, you can see that it's two ways, but I have to be very careful not to assume that it's two ways, even though it's marked like this, and there are like motorbikes and tuk-tuks coming, because motorbikes and tuk-tuks don't really follow the rules. They go wherever they want to go, right? Cars, however, need basically if you look at it, you see I don't really see cars coming, so I'm not sure whether it's a one way. And there's a sign on the left that you can't see right now, but it actually says that if you're coming from that side, you cannot turn right, which means where I came from is a one way. But as you can see from the video, there were a lot of bikes coming, right? So don't assume just because just don't assume. And even Google Map is not always isn't updated to show that it's one way. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the sheer amount of motorbikes. Now, at least in Siem Reap, I see motorbikes that they are not, the bikers are wearing helmets. When I was driving in here, almost no one wore helmets, right? Out of the outskirts and all that. And what happens is they don't. I think the way traffic here is that if you're driving a car or whatever, you always give way maybe to the bikes, or the bikers think that you must always give ways to them, because even sometimes when I put a signal and I'm turning, right, just as I'm about to turn, a bike shoots by on my left, okay? And if I didn't look out, I would have knocked into them. And and they would have just shot by, and it's totally blasé. It can be two people on a bike with a kid, and they're just vroom, So it is your responsibility to be very, very careful, okay? Because regardless of the law, especially if you are a foreigner and you're driving in this country, the guilt automatically falls on you first. So even if you can argue or say, oh, you know, I didn't do something wrong or whatever kind of stuff like that, you're always assumed to be the guilty party. For a lot of reasons which I will not go into, but essentially you will be treated as the guilty party until proven innocent. And it's going to be very hard for you to be proven innocent, from what I hear. So, hey, just be careful, be nice, and watch out for the bikes, right? The third thing is, because they've repaved the roads and all that, suddenly now there are parking options. There are official parking options. So parking in Cambodia, in Siem Reap at least, what they've been trying to do is to implement, you see these white lines on the side of the road, that means you can actually park, but there are usually signs that says only on odd or even days. So on certain days you can park on this side, and other days you can park on that side, but you cannot park within a number of meters away from junctions like this. So even the police, sometimes they're not very, very clear. So when you're looking for parking, it's better not to park on busy roads. Yeah, like this, I wouldn't park on this road. But if you see similar white lines on the less busier roads, I see a lot of people parking, and I think you can park, provided you also look out for the odd and even days. But also they have created dedicated parking lots with parking signs, so that's good. And I'm heading to a cafe right now that has a dedicated parking space next to the river. I think it's the best parking in town, so I'm heading there. So that's on parking. What else? As you can see, oh yeah, like if you're driving a right-hand car drive in this country, your biggest challenge is always overtaking and getting out from somewhere, because I'll have to lean to see the cars in front of me. And oh, okay, so you see right here, right? It's green. I'm supposed to turn left, but the traffic in front of me can also go. So it's not like in Malaysia, if it's green, that means boom, it's your way and nobody else's. You still have to look out for it. You can go, but others can go too. So just always be careful and drive slow. I think the best thing is drive slow. Even if you make a mistake, it's not as bad, because the bikers and the other cars have the time to basically avoid you, or to brake, or just, you know, not get into an accident. I'm getting into the heart of Siem Reap now. This town has cleaned up a lot. A lot of these roads now look excellent, beautiful. They have paved, like put pavements on the side of the river. They have bicycle tracks across the river. Yeah, but still the traffic, you have to be very vigilant and be aware, right? Like junctions like these, you would think that, hey, you have right of way, so you just speed through. Sometimes I've experienced it where I thought it was my right of way, like something like this, and I'm going and boom, a bike comes out, right, and just turns without even looking. So yeah, be careful about that. And that's just the way it is in Siem Reap in Cambodia. So, you know, we adapt to it. On the parking note earlier, I don't know, I could be wrong, but so far this is what I've asked Cambodians, like, yeah, you can park, but on main roads like this you can't, but with a white line on other roads you can. So So I think it's still uncertain for a lot of, even, you know, it's not like, okay, shit, okay, right, so junction like this, woohoo, adventure time. So that's the river. It's actually quite a nice place to stroll and walk along, especially in the evenings when it's not hot, because you do have trees like this, like these, giving cover, giving shade. And the parking, the dedicated parking I was telling you about earlier, is coming right up. So if you drive into Siem Reap, know that there are places with a P sign with a dedicated parking, and that's the best place to park, and there are no parking charges. Parking is free, okay? But the police are all around, so you cannot park up on the curb. I've seen cars being like locked and all that, and the police, yeah, so but you can park on the side, okay? And in dedicated parking like this, you will see it on my left now. See beneath the trees? This is my favorite spot to park. So you can, okay, so this is perfect. You can park on the left. Okay, these are dedicated parking, but you can also park on the right here. You see that there's a line where there's a space between the curbside and the road, so you can park there technically. But even the waiters told me that you know, sometimes the cops come and they say they cannot park, and they ask why, and even the cops don't know. They just say you can't, you know. So anyways, beautiful. I've got a spot here, so I'm gonna park in an official parking. Woohoo! Damn right, next to the river. So this is it, my short little I don't know, sharing session on driving and parking in Siem Reap. So that's it. I'm getting down. I'll talk to you later. This is Siem Reap, Cambodia.